contractor was working on, it did not go well. But they didn't fly me over to work it, so I can't say here or there. So yeah, do you want me to drop off this?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fantastic.
It's actually very nice to have in there, because if you're having not just Zoom connectivity problems, any connectivity problems, you can go in there. And again, it's like a free analyzer. I mean, spectrum analyzers can, I think the one that I bought years ago was like over $5,000. So I mean, if you're in the RF industry, you know, RF, you can get them for a couple $100, but to find one that's going to deal in the 2.4 or 5 gig range, they're kind of specialized devices.
James, did you want to jump in?
I just want to say that I still think that the dashboard for the admins is a little more helpful in this account, because it actually shows drops, where that's just kind of showing you the information from your, you know, as you said, from the NIC card, and it's not really showing you, yeah, your packet loss is this high, you know, that you can give that information after the fact, or if you can get a hold of one of your admins, they can look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting information for those who can do something with it, but for the run-of-the-mill folks, as David suggested, might not be all that helpful, since it tells you, it could tell you, if you knew what you were looking at, that things were not good, but it makes no suggestions about what to do to fix that.
Right.
And the comment about convincing them to go get an Ethernet cable and plugging it in means that they know where their router is, that they understand which connection it needs to be plugged into. And many laptops don't even have an Ethernet connection on the side of it anymore. You rely on a dongle. So it's interesting, but not as useful as one might suspect. It is one piece to the puzzle, however.
It is. It's something though that, you know, people should know. If you're going to try to send video, you always go hardwire. I mean, it's just kind of a general rule. I mean, unless you don't have a hardwire, obviously, but if you have hardwire and you're running on Wi-Fi, you either A, don't have the education to know the difference, or B, you just chose to ignore it for whatever reason, because maybe you have a sufficient Wi-Fi signal to get away with it, but generally you don't send video over Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So you and I don't, everyone else does. Right. And, you know, I mean, every single person that I meet with, and I go over the hierarchy of streaming, the 5 things. The first one's internet. Every single person is on Wi-Fi, because we have been trained, and I'm not, you know, it's not good or bad. We have been trained to unplug, right? Cut the cable, cut the cord, wireless charging, wireless this. We've been trained in that way. And the vast majority, normal people are not video producers. And so
most people, the minute you say internet, they say, well, I'm on Wi-Fi, I'm
right.
on internet. It's now confused so much that even explaining somebody the difference that you have a plug-in option is right. Crazy.
No, I get it. It's just, this is an education that we need to be, everybody needs to be pushing out there. I mean, everybody I come in contact with at work, it's the first thing, just like you said, David, the first thing you say to them, are you plugged in?
Right. No. The reason I asked the question about this data and whether it's helpful is not because I'm critiquing Zoom at all, but you know, for those of us who are playing with ZoomOSC and ZoomISO and live recorder recording 16, you know, ISO feeds and Zoom cuts, and you know, the office hours community, the Zoom test kitchen community, we are always thinking about how is Zoom going to push the envelope? How is Zoom going to give more tools to professionals? How is Zoom going to up their game? We've also heard from Zoom that we are not their primary clientele. We are, you know, the 1/10 of 1%, that their big picture is to get everyone communicating. And so that's why I asked the question, because this feels like something that's very helpful to the 1/10 or 100th of 1%, not not as much for the, and yet they took the time to put it in there. So I just thought that was interesting.
So let me jump in real quick and just give you a perspective from I'm more in the admin role and kind of service the user community across the Fortune 500 company, but I also work closely with our studio guys that use some of these more advanced production capabilities, but where something like this comes in handy for us because the users don't understand that absolutely, and they're never going to this. But if I can see their Wi-Fi signal strength, I can tell them to get off of their deck and go back in their house. I can tell them to get out of the basement or start walking around with your laptop and let's see if it gets better. Oh, that's a good spot. Stay there. If you've got to do video, that's the spot in your house you need to be in, and pay attention to these. There's some kind of little education, but it'll help with that because we run into, run a wire. What's that mean? I'm not draping a 50-foot wire across my house, through the kitchen, down the steps. That's just not reality for the user communities. But this is a helpful tool.
I've had that wire running through my kitchen and living room for the past 2 years, and my wife wants to kill me.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And someone said it before, and forgive me for not remembering who, but you're right. On the admin side, this is probably huge. Yeah.
Our studio guys could care less.
It's definitely a tool.
Yeah. Yep. There was something in the office hours community. So this was posted, a question that was posted a few months ago. We started getting complaints during the webcast that the presenter's screen sharing was being cropped off. The second webcast, we got these complaints. I dug a bit deeper. This is not me, which is when I learned folks were using the web browser. I discovered that in Chrome-based browsers, the fit to window function is broken and the screen sharing feed will not scale. It's also broken in Firefox, which Firefox is Chromium, isn't it?
No.
I think, oh, it's not. Sorry.
I think it's got a Chromium element to it, but it's its own deal.
Okay, sorry. According to one of our audience members, I've only verified the bug in Brave, which is Chrome-based. Safari doesn't suffer this bug, but that's not the browser which most of our audience uses. So I guess the question is, and we can test this, if someone wants to join this meeting, actually I can do that. Someone wants to join this meeting from a Chrome-based browser. So I use Brave, so I could probably get it up in Brave, and then we'll do a screen share and see if it gets cropped or not. Someone have something exciting or interesting that they want to screen share?
Well, I'm on Firefox, but I'm not through the web. I'm through the app. So.
What do you, right. So they mean join from the browser. Let me type it out. All right.
Don't you have to be sent the link that's in that format in order to just get it to the internet without having to launch the app?
No, if you go to, there we go, I'm in. So if you go to just zoom.us and you click on join a meeting, there is an option to, if you scroll down, join in browser.
Oh, okay. I'll go check that out.
Okay, so I am now, so I've now have Brave in this meeting. So if someone wants to screen share something, and I could probably bring over this screen share also.
Oh, so David, is just to make sure I understand, you're saying that the person who's in the meeting sees the share cropped, or when he shares it's cropped?
No, when I believe it's when what he sees, what he receives is cropped, I believe. Brave browser, let me grab this. Okay. All right, so who's got something they can share? Beautiful, I see something coming up. Okay. So let me now bring up so you can see what I'm seeing. Do you see what? Sorry. We're gonna do a camera, and I'm gonna choose. Bear with me here. I'm sorry.
But also, wouldn't this be like if they are sharing a screen that is larger, and that's where it's the issue, right? So if you are only sharing a 1920 by 1080 window, it might be different than if you're on a Mac and sharing your 3860 or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right. So scan converter, why is it not shipping it over to me? Capture, Brave browser, boom. And it's not grabbing it, and I don't know why. So I'll just tell you, on mine, it's not cropped. So I'm on Brave. I don't know exactly what the latest is, but oh, there it is. Now I got it up. Okay, so here's the share, or the Zoom window, I should say. It doesn't look cropped to me. That's exactly what I'm seeing in my normal one. Does anyone else see that?
So Ray, can you share something that's higher resolution?
And
or maybe even share multiple screens, because that'll make it higher resolution.
I'm going to spotlight myself just so that we can see it a little better. Ray, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Let me see if I can find something that'll make James happy.
Dave, what I'm seeing on my share is that I'm seeing you're getting a bit cut off on the right and the left.
What do you?
Like what? Like I'm looking at your spotlight right now.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing, like if you look at my name on your screen, it's cut off.
Oh, look at that. I wonder if that's, wait, let me just make sure. No, that's how, no. That's how it's being screen shared.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Let me try and fix that. I apologize. Custom. What is going? Oh, there we go. Okay, that's a screen share. Yep, apologies. Let me fix that right now. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So where'd the screen share go? What happened?
I took it down. I was looking for something that would be a higher resolution. I don't seem to have something that I can share. Somebody else got something? Let's see.
Yeah, but even all of these boxes, it's coming way lower resolution. It's very fuzzy on my monitors.
So yeah, just bear in mind though that this is I'm grabbing this on another computer through a browser, which remember can only receive 720. I'm then sending that over NDI to another machine. I'm then putting that into Ecamm and then sending it into Zoom via. So I wouldn't trust the quality of this, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm still not seeing it cut off. Is the bottom line, I think. At least that's, I don't think I'm seeing it cut off. So I'm not sure that we're going to be able to recreate what he was seeing. Close. Why does that keep opening? It's interesting. All right. Well, I wonder if, you know what? I wonder if it's because the people didn't know how to use this view, right? So this is standard. I wonder if somehow the person who was watching this got into like speaker view or something, and then it was something like that. Oh no, it still doesn't cut it off. It sizes it. I don't know. I do not know. Oh well, we thought we'd try and help. Justin, did you want to jump in?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? I was
Please.
was curious what type of do we know what type of content was being shared? I've seen some issues with PowerPoints depending on what the specs on the operating system are and on the end user's PC. Do we know if they were sharing a PowerPoint?
I don't, because
Okay.
I just grabbed this from.
Yeah.
What was the problem with PowerPoint? You said.
I've just noticed some wonky issues depending if a user has a PC on an older operating system. Sometimes the way that the content is shared, because like you know how you can change, like you know in the advanced sharing options in Zoom, you have a couple different options there. Sometimes the way that Zoom recognizes that content, things can get a little wonky if you have a really old operating system. Like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I wonder if it's also, you just made me think about how you create your PowerPoint or your presentation, if it's 4:3 versus 16:9, you know, if that.
Was this a case where all viewers were experiencing the window clip or just a fraction of the viewership?
Yeah. So again, unfortunately, I can't answer these questions because I don't know, but what he writes here is that complaints that folks were using the web browser and that in Chrome-based browsers, the fit to, oh wait, maybe that's what I did. The fit to window function. What is fit to window function?
Well, you have a choice there, and when it shows you are viewing so-and-so's screen at the top of the shared window, one of the drop downs is standard view or fit to window.
Okay, wait. Hold on. For the person who's sharing.
No, for the person who's viewing a shared screen.
Okay, can someone share something again so I can, and I'll bring this back up. I'm sorry.
You said you're seeing that under view at the top? I don't see that.
Again, Kenneth was meaning that somebody has to be sharing currently before that option is shown. It should be there now.
Right. Okay. So now on the web browser at the top of multi-view windowed, it says over on the left side of the shared image, in the center of the shared image is a green bar. It says you are viewing Pixel 6 Pro raised screen.
Right.
And next to it is view options, black and white. Drop down view options and you see two choices between
there you go.
fit to window or original size.
I actually have a bunch of options.
Okay, well, that's what I've got on the browser, on the Chrome browser.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. That's, you know what? I bet you that's it. Look at that. So when you do fit to window and you move this, it resizes automatically and it always fits it in. When you have this on original size, it'll crop it.
That's correct.
There you go. Oh, fantastic find. That may have been it. I wonder if that's different. It's interesting that would be in Chrome, but not in Safari or something like that. So that might be it. Wow, fantastic. All righty. Success.
And even on mine, when I'm not in the browser, I have all these. I had all these options, and I went oversized. So 150, 300, 500%. It obviously zoomed in.
Yeah.
David, Justin had a comment in chat. Yeah, you got it. Okay.
What was that from Justin?
Mike, you're very low. Level's very low, Mike.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, Justin. Well, you'll see it that way if you're in side-by-side view, because now you have the ability to slide that slider to determine what's on the left side, what's on the right side. And I think that can overpower the dimensions of the shared window.
Yeah. So what I was seeing is when the sharing was up, if I was in standard view, it didn't crop at all. But if I went side by side, the bottom was slightly cropped. So where it says at the very bottom, like H2R placeholder, that was cut off for me when I put side by side view. And I wonder if that's what the view people were seeing versus having the standard, which puts people at the top. Because that was the only time I saw any kind of cropping.
Yeah, if people are, if the folks are at the top and you do standard view and then you change the size of your window, well, it could be cut off even so. Because the size, well, so in part, I guess it depends on the monitor, because if you say show me not fit to window, but show me full screen, whatever it's called, full image. I don't have it open anymore. I'm sorry.
Original size,
right? So if someone's sending a 1080 image or a 2K image, a 2K screen share rather, and you've got a tiny little dingy, monitor, it's going to get cut off no matter where the Zoom folks are.
Right. If it's at 100%, the image is going to be 100%, whether you choose to display all of it or not. And that's your choice based on how you slide the window.
yes. At least at original size, though, you can scroll the window around. On fit to window, you can't scroll the window at all. So it just cuts off about the bottom, like 50 pixels, maybe 100 pixels.
See, I don't think it was cut off from me. That's interesting. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe I just didn't see it.
Now, this is not a high resolution screen. This is my multi-view on a small monitor below my teleprompter. So that may have some effect on what you're seeing. I don't have something on the main screen that I can share with you. I guess I could move it. Don't know what happens to the share when I do that. Let's find out. So now it's on the big screen. Am I still sharing it? I can't tell because I can't see the.
Seeing a magenta screen.
I got a pink or a magenta screen now.
Yeah. So it doesn't move with the. Yeah. Let's see if I can move that to the big screen and share it over there. Suppose I lose the icon to share screen. It goes away. Too many choices. Yeah, I can't. I have to move this down to here to be able to do that. Okay. So now I can make that full screen.
So what we're learning, among other things, is that there are at least two separate places where one can determine the size of the shared window. And in at least one of those places, there are other choices that can determine the magnification of the shared window. And so maybe it's appropriate to do it this way at the beginning of the program, to invite all the viewers to adjust their screens appropriately so that they can see everything that's about to be presented. Little extra housekeeping step.
Yeah, whatever's there right now, as I switch back and forth between original and fit to window. In original, I don't get the right-hand box. I only get a little bit of the right-hand boxes. So I can see, let's see if I go back to original window. Yeah, I don't even see that little brochure. All I see is the white line. But if I go back to fit to window, I see the whole, there's a black screen, and then there's the screen with the brochure on it, and then there's the volcano and the hotspot virtual cam. But I can't see any of those boxes, and I'm not on there. I'm in the app.
How about on the other side?
On the other side, yeah, the black window next to preview, camera with BG, comp one Deerfield. Now, if I go to original size, I lose all of that as well. Yeah, I can see you moving it around back and forth, but it's not all there. But if I say fit to window, I get the whole thing in the app.
I'm on a Windows client in the app. That's the exact same experience I'm getting. Fred,
Did you say
explain.
not all there? Oh, no, the picture's not. I got it.
And actually, they do now have the scroll size. So like if you have middle mouse button and you hit your command key in the Mac, you can adjust that dynamically in the app client.
So as I play with mine more, I'm noticing in the views that was cut off, depending on how big I make either the gallery view or the speaker that's on the side, Zoom will then resize it and then the crop kind of goes away. But when I have it at the smallest possible speaker, Zoom tries to make whatever's being shared full screen, and that's where it's cutting off the bottom for me. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what the person was seeing, is they had it so that it tried to maximize the screen share. And in turn, that ended up cropping it. If they would have drug over the speaker or the gallery a little bit, Zoom then greatly resized it so that I had quite a bit of buffer on the top and bottom, and then I saw everything.
By the way, I should also mention I have two monitors. So the monitor of the screen share is my right-hand monitor. None of this affected my gallery on the left-hand monitor.
When somebody was talking about being able to resize or what from the Mac and the Windows, when I go to the original size, while I only see a portion of what's being shown, I can drag it around. I can't resize it anyway, but I can just drag it left, right, up, and down to get what I want to see in the middle, but that's not a very pleasant experience.
Have you all, have you all seen this sort gallery by?
Yes,
option?
it is. When it's active on the account, it is a fantastic option.
Oh, I must have turned that on my account because I'm seeing it in the browser. Boy, do I wish that we could just have this in our participants panel also.
It is turned on at the account level of the person that owns the meeting.
Oh, so the Zoom Test Kitchen must have it turned on.
Yep.
Okay.
Zoom Test Kitchen has it.
But
on.
yeah,
I've never seen that before today.
So this is just on the browser side. You can sort by first name, Z to A, first name A to Z, obviously, last name, entry time, or and entry time both ways. That is really fascinating.
Yeah,
it's on the client as well.
And
Just so
the
you know.
browser.
Is it on the client?
It is on the client. If you click on your view menu,
Yep, it's there.
what's really awesome as well, David, because I know you use Companion. Companion also, because it just picks up whatever's in the gallery, will then sort from whatever you picked. So it's great to be able to find people if you're able to sort them by first name.
Yeah, it's not
Quickly
in
scroll
cuts,
through the list.
unfortunately, though, so I can't.
Yep, must not be in cuts then.
Yeah,
That's
it's not in
unfortunate.
cut. Load. Wait a second. Load video order. Oh no, that's not it. Oh no, it is in cuts. I'm sorry. It is in cuts. I've got it right here. First name, last name, media. Look at that. Wow. I didn't even know. I mean, I never sort my gallery. That's fantastic. Huh. Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. I use my view quite a bit. I've never seen that drop down before. So that's enabled by the person putting on the meeting. It's in their client.
So. Yeah,
I believe so.
I'll have to tell some people about that, because that would make everybody's screen arrangement potentially the same if you sorted from A to Z or whatever.
Well, right. So if you sort from A to Z and then you force your view on your participants.
No, what I'm saying is if you tell all your participants about it and they all sort their screen, wouldn't pretty much everybody's screen be the same in the meeting?
Can't you force that anyway?
I don't know. I've never seen it before.
Wait, I'm
Yeah.
getting a yes from Mike and a no from Robert. This is very confusing.
I haven't seen that option.
Yeah, the only time that I remember is that we actually tested it in the Zoom test kitchen where Jeff actually did set the order of what people could see from the host, being host, of what we can see as the gallery view. Is that that's what we're talking about, right? Is that
Yeah.
you wanted to have the certain gallery view in a certain order.
Right,
Yeah,
that there's
we've done
follow
before.
host that I think there is.
No. This is going. I think Fred, you're saying you want to go above and beyond that, though, right? You want to, as the host, you want to say, this person's here, this person's there, based on the gallery. That I'm pretty sure we've done before.
I don't know. I know what I was asking is that if everybody who's in a meeting was to sort, let's say, from A to Z, then everybody's screens could potentially be the same for everybody, for all the participants that are in the meeting that aren't hit.
But at a host level, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've actually done this before in the Zoom test kitchen. What we actually did was Jeff actually did put he chose what the actual gallery view order is as a host, so that he would actually push it out to everybody, and everybody's gallery then would be that way
That's
as well.
cool. Yeah, well, see, that's the problem with having not been here for 9 or 10 months, because I missed that.
Yeah, there's two ways to do this. What Mike said. So and we use that in our education. If they're doing distance learning and there's a classroom, the instructor will line up all the students in one and then force that view to everybody. So everybody's looking exactly the same layout of the classroom virtually. But then they've just recently added this where I can do my own personal sort by alphabet if I want to do that, if the host is not forcing the view.
So since I'm the host, let me just force the view. Okay, so you should see my view, and I'm going to change it to sort by last name now.
Yeah.
But the question is, can you change it and can you set your own view?
When you did that, my option to do my own view went away.
Okay.
Yeah, mine went away as well in the end.
And when I try and drag a video, I get a pop-up that says you cannot move a video because you are following the host video order.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how you do it. So you don't even need folks to, and this is, to me, this is the best, it's the best and problematic. It's best for those of us who are control freaks, because we don't need to teach our participants how to sort. We can do it for them. It's problematic because, to me at least, one of the most powerful things about Zoom is the way it has, and sort of these technologies in general, is the way it's democratized conversation and connection. That what I'm seeing on my screen is not the same thing that you're seeing on your screen. And because you're choosing something different, you're choosing a different layout, or you're choosing to pin someone, and giving people that choice to me and allowing them to own the experience, instead of television, which is you turn it on and you're seeing the exact same thing that everyone else is. I don't know, that to me is pretty powerful. And this robs people of that a little bit. I'm feeling, because Robert just did that, I'm feeling a little robbed right now.
Well, the whole idea of democratized control freaks does leave a bit of concern there, I think. Room for it. Anyway.
That's a fair point. Democratized control freaks.
I do like this. That's something that I learned, because we have Monday morning meetings where I work, and the first time we all kind of got together, he goes, well, I'm just going to go across my screen and pick on the next person, and we all tell about what we're supposed to do this week. And of course, everybody's screens are different. So
the other thing that I have as the host is I can save the video order and then load it. Yeah, so I'm assuming that I can reload it at the next meeting if this is a recurring meeting.
Yeah, I wonder where that saves.
It's in a part of your profile on the workstation somewhere. It's just some file. But again, we use that in the education. They'll save it. Same class, 5 days a week. Everybody shows up in the same spot.
What happens if somebody doesn't show up or somebody joins that wasn't there from before?
That tile disappears if they're not there, and if it's somebody new, they go at the end until it's resorted.
Interesting. What if you have hide non-video participants on?
Then I don't know what happens in that case. And our training classes are making everybody turn the camera on, but yeah, that's interesting. Would that somehow break that view, or you would just, everything would just scrunch in and maintain the order of what's available?
Well, I'm sure we haven't run the string out. Somebody else have a topic they want to jump on?
Well, actually, if anyone's interested, I met with Adam Tao the other day about Zoom cuts, and he taught me a kind of amazing trick. If that's well, for me, it's kind of amazing. So first, the problem. So for this, well, forget the problem. But first, Zoom cuts. So the whole point, for those of you who don't know, of Zoom cuts is that it integrates with shortcuts. Now, I think for most people, the value there is being able to integrate your Zoom meeting with other Apple Notes and maybe Apple Calendar and things like that, because you can trigger and make connections that way. For me, it's really more about having more control over the meeting and being able to do things with a Stream Deck. That's my use case. So in any case, so I had set up a whole bunch of, let me close this out. So I'd set up a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch, a few shortcuts, Spotlight Me, Clear Stage, turn on and off original sound. That's something I've wanted for ages, to be able to have a toggle to turn off original sound instead of having to search for it up in the top there. And then over in Stream Deck, I could just run these from here. You could just click on the little play button, or you can throw them down in your menu bar, in your dock, or up in your menu bar. But for me, I wanted to be able to have it on my Stream Deck. And what I was finding is that, first of all, there is no official shortcuts, what do you call it, plugin for Stream Deck. There is one, but it's not official. And it's been a little buggy. It didn't always work. So here's the workaround that Adam taught me. So what you do is, let me take one that I haven't done. So we'll take mute participants. So let me just open this up. So this is find all participants where all of the following are true. Not is muted and not is myself. So basically, I want to choose everyone. I want to default select everyone who isn't muted and who isn't me. I don't want to mute myself. And then I want to mute selected participants. So that's the shortcut. Now that I brought this up, I'm not, we'll see if it actually works. The one thing I could do is, let me add a page here. I could just drop this in here, launch shortcut, and then it will find the shortcut mute participants. And now if I press this, where's my button? There it is. If I press, let's see what actually happens. Did it work? Yeah, I think it actually did work. Okay, everyone unmute again. So it worked that time, so good, of course it worked. But here's the workaround. You right click on a shortcut, add to dock. Okay, so now it's down here in my dock. It's this guy right here, mute participants. Now if you control click on this, no, wait, what did I do? It's command click on it. It will bring it up in your personal applications. I didn't even know this was a thing. But if you go into your home folder and then into your hard drive, you have your own sort of personal applications here. So here you can see I've got all these things here. Now, if I just launch this application, as it were, all the application is going to do is run that shortcut. That's all it's going to do. So now what I can do is I can come back over here to Stream Deck, And instead of using that kind of wonky plugin, I can literally just drag in the native open app action, find this mute participants right there, it just popped up. So now I have this on my Stream Deck again. And now again, if a few of you will unmute, I will go ahead and press this and we'll see if it works. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it took a second, but it worked. So in any case, that was the workaround that he gave me. The Stream Deck, it sometimes worked, it sometimes didn't work. I could never get it to toggle my what do you call it? Audio, forgive me. I could never get it to work with that. I could never get it to leave a meeting. For some reason, it would always join the meetings. I have buttons to join me, like I have a button for this meeting. It would always do that, but it would never leave meetings. But this, what I found with this one is that it works every single time. So it's a great little workaround from Adam for those of you who are playing around with Zoom cuts.
Thank you very much, David. That's quite amazing. I'm not even looking at it as a workaround, but just a way of doing things. Yeah.
Isn't it
Brilliant.
interesting? Yeah. And by the way, the last piece of this, which I forgot to mention, is you remember the way the process was: you add it to your dock and then you command click on it to show in your browser. You don't need to keep it in your dock. You can just, once you've put it there, just drag it off. Now it's gone and it stays right here and it just works. It just works, which is fantastic. So now this, actually this is the one. See, so let's change this, mute all. So I'm gonna instead drag this over, open. Oh, I'm not showing this to you, sorry. Oh yeah, I was. Open, and now I'm gonna find that one. I didn't realize I didn't actually have this one set up yet. Mute participants, and now I can put the little icon that I had created on there. Mute. Do I have a mute one? Must be in here. Must be somewhere else. Mute all. Except I'll just do mute all. So there we go. So now I've got that button right on my Stream Deck, which is sweet.
David, would you have anything against sharing your shortcuts with us?
No, not at all. In fact, let me show you.
This is one of the brilliant things about shortcuts is you can share them with people easily.
Yeah, let me show you one. If it's okay, I'll show you one more actually. So this is one that Adam built out with me yesterday. So I wanted 95% of the time that I'm in Zoom, I'm doing one-on-one consultations with folks. And what I want to do is I want to have a button to pin them to my main screen instead of having to go into, okay. So what we did is, where's pin? Here it is. So here's the shortcut. Now I just had, pin participant, but then the problem runs into if you have more than one person. So what we did is find all participants where it's not myself, obviously. Then count the number of participant, count items in participant. And then there's an if otherwise statement. If the count is 1, turn on pin on, and then identified my screen for that one participant. If it's not, then bring up a choice for me. So I get to choose which participant and then turn on the pin for that. So if I press this little button here, you can see that since there's more than one person in this meeting, I got this pop-up of all the participants, and I can now choose the person and pin them. If there was just one person in here, it just pins them without any hesitation. And then I've got another button that will just unpin them if for whatever reason, just remove all pins. So yeah, I'm happy to share any of these. Right now, the ones that I'm using, the ones I actually use the most are my joins. Like I have a join for this, so I never have to remember the number or the password. I've got to join for office hours for a couple places I teach. I use Spotlight Me all the time. See if that actually works. I don't know if it, yeah, it did. So, which is really nice. So I don't actually have to be in a meeting using OSC. I can Spotlight real quick from right here.
You know what's interesting? When you did the Spotlight Me, you actually changed my view.
Right, because I Spotlit for everyone.
Right, but when you came out of it, my screen was different. My view was different. I had to go back up and change it back to gallery. I think it switched to speaker view. It was weird.
So gallery view is not persistent, as is my understanding. In fact, this is actually a kind of a problem right now with ZoomOSC, is that after you spotlight someone, ZoomOSC does not automatically default back to gallery view. It, as you said, will stay in speaker view. And so Spotlight, just as saying, Spotlight changes people to speaker view, right? So what you have to do in OSC or ISO is build out your actions such that it, number one, spotlights the person, but then it changes your ISO or OSC machine back to gallery view. And so I have that built, like if I were to, right now, if I were to spotlight, I'll just highlight myself. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight myself. For all of you, I'm now spotlit. For me, on my ISO machine or my OSC machine, I'm in gallery view. So it's a problem. It's not a problem, but that's the way that Zoom is working right now, is that it kicks you out and it does not, there's no way in ISO. There is actually, sorry, they just released in ISO, in ZoomISO, that now I believe you can force gallery view. That hasn't come out in OSC yet, and it's not in the native client or cuts yet.
Maybe it was something you did before, but because those 2 times you just did that, it came back to gallery view. But something you did earlier today, it, on my view, actually changed to.
All right, so let me try it. So I'm going to let me spotlight myself from Zoom Cuts.
Right, I see that.
All right, and now I'm going to clear the stage or unspotlight. Now I went back to gallery view.
And I went back to gallery view.
Okay.
Yeah. But earlier today, somebody did something and it didn't go back to gallery view. So I don't know if it was you or maybe somebody else that was sharing, but I'd never had where I had to go to the view button and change that before. I never had experienced that with anybody's meeting.
I'll tell you that on my Stream Deck, the bottom left button on every Stream Deck is a gallery view button. So I anywhere like my fingers could be anywhere and it's going to hit a gallery view button so that I can get back there, just because like you, I've had instances where it just doesn't, it doesn't shift back. Like Justin said, it keeps me in speaker view for some reason. So in any case, so that's my little, but yes, if any of you would like any of these, they're really not that fancy, other than that one that Adam built for me.
Please do share them, because I would really like to look at the way you defined that. You know, there were 2 or 3 commands that you had to issue.
Yeah,
select
so I'll do
this from that, and you just need to get used to that. Because one of the things that I'm doing is we do training for sign language associations, and during that training, what we have to do in Zoom is put a sign language interpreter to be interpreting the training, and then we have to pull him out and spotlight him when he's interpreting or she's interpreting for the people who are training to become sign language interpreters, because they occupy the virtual booth for the sign language. So this is going to be really useful if I can figure out how to use shortcuts to spotlight the different interpreters, because they swap over. So you have to do that manual change when we're using the functionality for interpretation for the workshop. Yeah? I don't know if I've explained that properly.
Robert, question about that did we not in Zoom Test Kitchen do the failover functionality? Are you utilizing that too?
No, that's okay. That's different because what we need to do is during the workshops, we need to allow the people who are being trained to get into that Zoom functionality window for sign language interpretation. However, there are people who are participating who need the original sign language. So they need to have the interpretation in sign language of what the trainer is saying. So we need to spotlight the trainer and the sign language interpreter, and then have that little window just for the people who are participating in the workshop and practicing things. So that's, yeah. So I think with Zoom shortcuts, we can identify how to spotlight two people that have been predefined. That would be really cool. It's just two buttons on the Stream Deck.
Actually, you could just do one button to spotlight two folks. I mean, you could, if you know their usernames, you can just create two spotlights and put it onto one button, and you're done in Zoom Cuts.
Yeah, but what I need to do is swap them. Yeah, take one off and spotlight the other. Take that one off, spotlight the other, because they change every 15 minutes when they're interpreting.
Right. I mean, you still could do that with one button. I think you would need to know the order. You know, you need to know who you're swapping out. Yeah.
That's not a problem. It would be nice to have it on one button because you can just toggle backwards and forwards. That would be really super.
Now, David, did they not add a functionality of time? Like do this, then wait for 15 minutes in Robert's case, then do this?
Yeah, there is a delay. You can put in a delay, sure. Yep.
You know,
So Robert, if you know you're two, then you just have to do that and then just have it loop. It should be way in there as well if the logic's in there to loop back to the top again, right? Yeah. Instead of having it multiple ifs all the time, or every 15 minutes having it like multiple times.
I'm not sure I'd want to trust a timer.
I wouldn't trust the timer because they may decide to change early or anything, but I understand what you're saying, but I need to figure out if you can actually loop that process. But I remember that you can't loop the process and that you do have to define it multiple times. So you need to play with it a little bit.
You know, I ran into something like this because I do stuff for the government where we have to have sign language, and we just basically had everybody turn their cameras off, and we did a hide non-video participants. So every time the interpreter would change, the one person would turn their camera off and the next person would turn them on, and it would always be a side-by-side that we were projecting up onto the big screen so that the audience could watch what was going on, and it was just automatic.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Fred. Appreciate that. I need to think this through because the way we do this this training is that part of the interpreters come in, participate. It's in the form of a webinar, so they participate and they show their faces, and we record it. The other group are just participants who don't want to show themselves, so we need to be able to manage those two views in a clever way. And of course, ZoomISO will be recording all of the camera ons so that we can make training films out of the material that we produce during the training event. So it's quite a long process, but I hear what you're saying. It's a good idea.
Yeah, if you're having to record the other people, they have to keep their cameras on all the time, then obviously that won't work. But we were doing a live event, like I said, and the interpreters trade themselves out every 15 minutes, and it worked out perfectly for us. We just told them, hey, don't turn your camera on until it's your time. And it just was an automatic process. We didn't do anything.
We're training on the Zoom interpretation functionality, which also gives us a lot of other options of who switches their camera on, who switches it off, who comes on screen automatically. And the beauty about that is that in the cloud recording, we get the interpreters separate from the speakers and the gallery view, so we can also do some post-production work from that. But there is a lot happening. There's still, as usual with Zoom, a lot happening. Hey, David, if there's nothing else, can I just share one thing, please? Oh, Tom has his hand up. Sorry, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, sorry. So with Zoom cuts, that needs to be, that needs to be authorized by the admin for the Zoom account, or if it's an organization.
Oh, Zoom cuts is a separate download. If you go to liminalet.com, you can just download it as a separate app.
I'm there right now, and I just wanted to double check, because I also see that, like, if you Google Zoom cuts, it also has it in the Zoom app marketplace, and it says
it's in the marketplace now.
Yep.
Yeah, and it says sign in to add.
Yes, I'll confirm that the admin has to add it to the to give permissions to the license holders in the account.
Okay.
That's interesting. That actually might be new, because I'm on a business account, and I mean, I'm the admin, but I didn't have to give myself, I installed it for another user, and I didn't have to give myself that other user permission when it first
was the other user under your Zoom account, not your individual, like your business, your Zoom
it would, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I sign in to the clients that I help out, so I would need to ask them to have their admin allow it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, Robert, it's all you.
I just wanted to share one of the things that I've been doing recently, apart from the recordings, because the recordings are for a purpose. I have started using and playing with an AI tool called Opus for making shorts. And it's very, I just wanted to share the experience. It's very clever in the way that you load a film in, a recording of some sort, and it will analyze, first it'll do transcription, analyze the transcription, pull out the most important key points, timestamp them, and then make a short film with those key points and put the text in and the transcription as in captions on the films itself. And we're doing this for corporate clients. Not doing it for just the YouTube shorts, but because you come out of a meeting and what are the key points out of the meeting? I know you can get that from a transcript, but how do you get it into a part of the recorded part of the Zoom meeting? So this is what we're doing. It's tricky though, because you've got to take that recording and put it into an editor and get the original recording and then make a clean copy, because the copy that comes out still has some flaws in it, because it's mainly designed for a mass market audience and not for a corporate type audience. But I just wanted to share that with you, because it seems as if all of these post-production products or services are a good revenue generator for people who are producing events and managing events on Zoom for clients. So it's opus.ai. And they are going to have a plugin, they're going to have an export function shortly to get into, what's it called? Premiere Pro, so that you can edit it directly in Premiere Pro. So it'll take out the specific part of the film with the time cuts, and they've promised to add one for DaVinci Resolve as well. So that's going to be the next step. Good. If I can just share the results of this recording, it seems to have gone through very stable. Hasn't bombed out. I haven't lost anything. And it's holding the last frame of each participant that's switched off their camera. And then the camera comes back on screen, just like in ZoomISO, sorry, without any problems. And these are MOV files that it produces. So I need to have something that will work with MOV files.
Or is MOV the only option, or?
It's the only option.
Okay.
Robert, just for clarification, you're running that on the Mac though, right?
Yes, I'm running it on the Mac. It's running on the same Mac as ZoomISO. So theoretically, the NDI it's not producing multiple streams of NDI throughout the whole of the network. And I can see this when I look at the load on the network. I'm not seeing any additional load. I have the same app on a Windows machine, and I also have tested the recording on a Windows machine over NDI. It is heavy because you can see about 150 megabits per second for each NDI stream that is going across.
Okay, so it's actually sending. So that's actually sending full NDI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So was
that's
that?
When it's set.
Sorry, let me ask. Was that 100 meg each or 100 meg in total?
No, 100 each.
Yeah. Then you're definitely that's definitely full NDI then.
Full NDI, and it's at 1080p.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's usually, again, it wavers. It's not a hard 100. It's usually between 100 and 120. But yeah, yep. Again, it depends on how much, how active the video is. It'll get up there in the 125-ish range. But yeah, cool. But yeah, you would definitely need, it would almost be better if you actually had a way to even, thinking off the top of my head, to bypass, if you did want to offload it to a PC, it would almost be better if you had, depending on how many physical Ethernets out of the Mac, I'm assuming it's only one, but if there was a second one, ideally you'd probably even want to take out the portion of depending on how many NICs your PC have as well, to get the bottleneck out of the switch out of the loop too.
I'm smiling, Mike, because that's exactly what I was playing with today, and I tried to use a Thunderbolt connection out of the Mac Mini to get an additional Ethernet port, and I couldn't figure out how to get NDI running across that dedicated port. In other words, I didn't figure out how to get the NDI through that Ethernet port as opposed to through the one that's going through the Cisco switch.
Right.
But I need someone to help me on that. I've reached the limit of my knowledge.
Yeah, and the other concern that I would have on the NAS too is, depending on the type of NAS you have, the drives you have, are they fast enough?
Yeah, they're fast enough. I was watching the stats, and they're not, and because they're RAID, so there's a lot going on in there. I looked at the stats during the recording. Memory, there was 50% memory free. The processor was going up to 10-12% usage, and the disks were running cool and just flat out all the time, but not at their Mac. They're not peaked out in any way. So I don't know.
Yeah, the only other thing that could be a bit of a bottleneck too, depending on how you've actually shared, like what sharing protocol, I'll use that term loosely, that you're actually using between the Mac and the NAS. Because there are different flavors. There's, there's NFS mounting, there's Samba mounting, there's, if we're using Windows-based type share, right? All different flavors. And again, SMB is, I believe, the Windows one that's coming to mind. Again, each one has their characteristics of, their limitations in the certain bandwidth that those certain ones have, and certain ones, especially the Windows one, will have less of your network will actually never saturate because the SMB can't keep up with the actual type of share that you've set up. It's the limitation of that. I won't say protocol. Protocol is not the right word, but the way that SMB was made by Windows, it wasn't a great over the network sharing type share protocol, but it was good for Windows to Windows. But now you're in a Mac to NAS scenario, so you might be benefit more from. And again, unfortunately I don't know all the different ones that Mac have, but since the Mac is more Linux based, I would try to go more after the Linux share as compared to a Windows one, and see if you get better performance that way without, having that second NIC on the NAS.
That was exactly my.
Also, are you running spinny disks or SSDs?
These are spinning disks.
Spinning disks tend to have a bottleneck there as well, like what Mike was talking about. Whereas I think the newer with the SSDs, there's like you said, the protocol, whatever it is, there's a way to get a faster data transfer. It won't bottleneck in there.
We've been figuring this out when we were setting up the NAS, because it's a Linux-based NAS, and it's actually using Samba for file exchange, and we've got a huge cache in there. And just looking at the cache in to write ratio on the hard disks, we don't see a limitation there. However, where I do see an issue, and that's why we're looking at putting a second network card into the NAS, is that the NDI protocol receives and then sends back everything. Yeah. So if you look at and I have a funny feeling, the gut feeling is that it's crashing there. Yeah. At that specific Ethernet port.
Now, here's another thought that I just had too, is that if you could potentially, I don't know what OS, I know it's Linux based that your NAS is running, but let's say it's just a vanilla Linux, you could potentially put Live Recorder, even though it's maybe running, maybe as a VM within the same machine. I don't know how far you've gone in that world of, how the NAS is actually set up to be an appliance, if it's running TrueNAS or, any of the different flavor of NASs that are out there. Some of if you did, it'll come to me. TrueNAS, I think it is
TrueNAS.
Is it TrueNAS?
Yeah.
TrueNAS Core?
No, it's TrueNAS. What's the other one called? It's not fired up at the moment, so I can't even check.
It's the Linux one though.
Correct.
Okay, that one, as far as I know, does have VM capabilities.
Yeah, it does have VM capabilities. I have spoken to someone, but to be very honest with you, Mike, I'm scared of getting an outside company to come and do that, and then leaving us to actually run it without having access to the skill set and to the support.
So the NAS is third party at this point, or no? Meaning that it's outside company takes care of the NAS, or is it yours?
No, we had someone set it up. It's ours, and so
But
it's
they
ours.
maintain it, or you maintain it?
They maintain it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because again, what would be my thought is, depending on the CPU, RAM, and such in the NAS, is you could easily fire up, you just basically have to make sure that you have the specs based on the live recorder software for Linux meet their system requirements that they need. And usually these guys will give you, if you're going to do 16, you need X CPU, X cores, X RAM, X storage, and storage space probably is not even that much because it's going to be the actual software itself. But the VM in TrueNAS Core, I think is whatever the one you have, the TrueNAS version, it will actually, in the VM, you could actually link it right to the local NAS there. So you now are only bringing all the feeds in over the network. Yes, you'll have the network bandwidth go up, but your local storage now becomes the NAS, and it's only going locally within itself. Right?
That's definitely another option. I'm going to do them one by one.
Yeah, understood. But again, it's just
complicated. It's far more complicated than we thought it would be. It's not just simple plugging in and figuring out why it doesn't work.
And that's why you'll see a lot of people using, like, getting out the, instead of buying multiple, or even setting up a lot of our, our friend Jonas with our infamous, doing the Byte Hive, doing the, the recorder, the Blackmagic type recorders where you're feeding in individual. That's where a lot of these guys will actually pull out the feeds via the capture cards, bring them into like an 810 mini, depending on, in your case, you want 16, you would need 2 extremes, right? And then you just need the 2 USBs drives, and and again, you could also, in the extremes, because you have the 2 USB ports, you could officially have 2 external hard drives hooked up there, and a lot of people are doing productions that way because that's becoming more cheaper 8-way recorder, especially if you get the ISO one, you'll get all ISOs within one hard drive, right? And then of course you're ready for DaVinci Resolve at that point.
We analyzed that use case. The trouble is that we're looking for redundancy, so we have to duplicate everything, and that hardware route just becomes super expensive to work with.
Yeah, and again, in of course in the broadcast world, in the television world, they'll have a full rack of what you want to do. This 12U, 16U of what Robert wants to do, because you're going to have 3 of these wide times, you want 16. So 3 by whatever, and that's, there's your 16 channels that you're recording.
Yeah.
That's old school, of course.
But if this will work on the Mac Mini and it proves stable, then for redundancy, we only need 2 Mac Minis and 2 licenses, and we're done.
Let's just for a moment acknowledge how insane that is. That this might all work on a Mac Mini, right? Because 2 years ago, right, we had Mac Mini farms that were grabbing isolated feeds and recording and feeding them. I mean, now you've got like an 8 gig, 16 gig Mac Mini, and it's doing all this amazing work. That's just amazing. Just amazing. Tom, I have no idea if Zoom Cuts will work with Zoom for Gov. That's a good question, but I bet you Andy.
Yeah, I'll check with Andy.
Yeah. This was fun today.
And Tom, as a suggestion too, I know you're thinking of doing the Zoom Cuts for yourself, and you're saying that every platform that you would log into would be different because you have different clients. Then I would do what like David has done, which is he's actually downloaded the actual Zoom Cuts directly from Liminal.
Yeah,
I always will have it, right?
Yeah,
and then at the particular point, David, you're not doing anything fancy per meeting. Zoom Cuts just works in any meeting, right? You don't have.
Yeah, I just joined from Zoom Cuts, and there is every time Zoom has a release, I have a little FOMO, little fear of missing out because, Zoom Cuts isn't updated the way Zoom is, the standard client is. So every time I get the notification of release notes, I try not to look at them because I'm trying to just love the Zoom Cuts. But yeah, at this point, I just join every meeting from Zoom Cuts. I haven't used the regular client in a long time.
And my experience with ZoomISO and ZoomOSC is that I would have to have the client, because I'll be the one that goes in and hosts and runs on my own the meeting for the client. So as the person that's opening the Zoom meeting or the Zoom webinar, in order to open that with the Zoom Cuts version of the Zoom application, I would need to have them authorize it, is what it sounds like is likely the case. So,
if they want you to start the meeting,
yeah.
Oh.
So since I'm the one that is originating the meeting, signed in under one of their accounts,
right?
I have to, if I want to use Zoom Cuts. Otherwise, I guess I could sign in with Zoom, then I could sign in a second or join the meeting with Zoom Cuts from another account and go that route, possibly, but I'll experiment.
That's what I do for ZoomOSC. I always join from a separate machine and a separate account, and I never originate the meeting there. I always just, they make me a co-host, and then I'm good to go. Justin, did you want to jump in?
I had something totally different if we had time that I wanted to throw out to the group. It's a Zoom Rooms thing. So for a long time, there's been this limitation in Zoom Rooms where you cannot annotate over HDMI content, and it has been a problem for I don't know how long, ever since I've been aware of the platform. And one of the things I'm trying to figure out right now is a solution for annotating over shared content in an auditorium setting, like from a lectern. And so Zoom Rooms with a dedicated whiteboard would be perfect, if not for that limitation, because basically you can see content, you can't annotate over it. You can like toggle back and forth between the whiteboard and the content. But basically I'm stuck now with trying to, and there are different hardware solutions to this problem. I wasn't sure if anyone was aware of an easier way to go about doing this leveraging Zoom or leveraging something similar.
What do you mean by annotating?
Like drawing over a screen share, and that screen share is taking place via HDMI. So an end user.
The way ours are set up at the training center, we're unfortunately we're only using one video out of the PC, but it's going through a Wacom tablet, and then it takes the loop out of the tablet to feed the screen. So it doesn't matter what the video source is. It's PowerPoint, it's Zoom, it's whatever it is. You can. So
the Wacom, you're using the built-in tools on that Wacom tablet, like the built-in software, and that's how you're doing it. And are you using a Cintiq or a specific model of Wacom, or do you know? I'm not sure, do all of them have HDMI outs on them?
These monitors are old. They actually have DVI. We have DVI to HDMI adapters because everything in the desk is HDMI.
Yeah.
I didn't put it together. This was something that was built when I got there.
Sure.
I don't know actually how the monitors work. I just know there's a pen next to the monitor, and if you take and you draw on it, it will draw.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff. I have a couple other solutions I was looking at that are similar to that, but I will look at the Wacoms now that you mentioned it. That's a good suggestion. But yeah, that's part of it too. You don't see a lot of touch displays that have built-in outputs that are for professional environments. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a loop through or something. I don't know, but it works.
Cool. Yeah, if anyone has ideas, let me know.
Yeah, the only other thing I could think of, Justin, was to actually, again, if you don't want to use a Wacom, you just basically need that, whatever that is, source to come in from the Zoom Rooms before it goes to projector or screen. You just need something in that will just do that loop through. If you don't want to use a Wacom specifically, a PC, a laptop, but again, you have to capture card in, capture card out, right?
Yeah, there are a bunch of different ways to do it, like to do the hardware route. I think one of the things I was looking at was if there was a way to do it potentially with software, like on an overlay. Like, you can have a Zoom room, a standalone Zoom room on an iPad. I was looking to see if there were any apps that could act as kind of like an annotation overlay, but I haven't found anything really.
Have you looked at Video Pencil?
I have looked at that. I don't, is that the one where there's a free and a paid version of it? I think.
I have no idea.
I think I just saw that one.
Yeah. So
Use that.
It's being kind of wonky for me right now, but so I use this every day, and the way it works is it sends. You can do. There are a couple ways to do it. Either you can just plug it in, and it will then grab a feed that you put. Video Pencil camera is a little plug-in on your computer, and then you say to Video Pencil camera, okay, what do I want to capture, and what should I send back to the iPad? And the iPad receives that. You could write on top of it, annotate on top of it, and then that gets sent back to the computer. And of course, I can't show it to you right now because it's not working.
That's okay. I'll have to check that out. Sounds like sort of similar to some stuff you can do in OBS.
Well, this will work in OBS. This will absolutely work with OBS. This works with OBS, VMX, camera, because all it is it's just a camera layer. That's all it is.
Right. So it's almost like the equivalent with like, doing it on like a video switcher, like you're Luma keying everything else out. It's sort of similar to that, but instead you're using this app.
Sort of. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, even if you wanted to, a really cheap ATEM Mini would probably do it too, in and out, because you just bring the video in and video out, and then you just kick in the Luma or Chroma that's built into the Mini. I
that's a good thing. I might try that. Yeah, because the idea is like we want people to be able to, bring their laptop to the lectern, plug in, and be able to annotate on whatever they throw into our system. So, I'll have to play around with we have a couple roll-in switchers, and I have an ATEM Mini, so I might bring that in. Yeah, good suggestion.
In theory, you should be able to do it on the roll-in too.
Yep.
As long as it has it's just that video in, video out scenario that you would need.
Cool. Thank you for your suggestions. Appreciate it.
I'm going to bid you all a lovely weekend, and thank you, Robert, for hosting us today.
Thank you, David, and for sharing all of that information that you shared with us. That's really super.
Now
and I'm waiting for the file from you.
I put it in the chat. For you. Scroll back up. And I'm going to leave by pressing one button on my Stream Deck, which is going to leave meeting. Let's see if it works. Ready?
Bye, David.
Yes.
That was fun.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Robert, for doing this again. Like I said, I haven't been here in quite a while, so I always learn something when I come into this.
I think we all do. We all do, Fred. I think this is the beauty of this community. It's just sharing the knowledge and throwing ideas onto the table or problems onto the table and then just trying to figure them out. Appreciate it. Good seeing you.
Very cool. Hopefully I'll get to do it again on another Friday. I'm usually always working on Fridays, so today was kind of exceptional.
Good. We're very lucky to have you. Well, Jeff was in right at the beginning of the meeting. He was just he was telling us about his new toys and the way he sits behind in the helicopter, and he's got a joystick and he's got a screen and he's got his laptop. It sounded like a little kid with a new computer game, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Okay. Good. So Mike, how are you doing? Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, same here. The last time we were live, you were just watching us on YouTube.
I know. I know I've been cut off for a while.
Yeah, no, I've missed the group. I've been here every Friday ready to go, and then all of a sudden we were canceled. It's like, oh, okay. All right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the message that the host hasn't started the meeting yet, and that sort of says, looks strange.
Yeah. What I've done is I message Ray in Discord. Ray, is it happening today? I think Ray's gonna get mad at me one of these days. Go, Mike, no, okay. But yeah, no, it's yeah, no. This is sort of my end of week wrap up. To it gets me away from my day to day to Zoomify myself. There you go. I should patent that. There you go. Zoomify.
Good. So
Become a Zoomer. I can't use Zoomer. Zoomer is copyrighted here. I can't use Zoomer. There is a Zoomer Media here, so I can't use that one. But yeah.
Well, since you've come up with your Zoomify, I think we'll end the live stream and then we can just have a short chat. So thanks everyone for joining us, and see you next week. I got no music to play, unfortunately, so this will just be a hard stop.